What is happening in the Call of Duty scene? It does seem like free agency has slowed down just a little bit, but there are some of those past rumors that are coming to fruition, and some of those franchises that are in disarray continue to somewhat be in disarray. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first of all, I want to go ahead and a good feel story from the past day or so is that Clayster is finally announced that he's a part of the Ambox family on the Subliners for the CDL 2021 season alongside Zuma and Mac Melts. So obviously we've been on this for the last couple weeks. It started with CDL Intel, what they put out, and this has never wavered away from this, right? Even though Clayster did try to throw people off saying that, you know, the Intel counts are added again and stuff like that, but obviously he is with the New York Subliners, so we'll see what they do with that last position that they have open. We'll talk about it towards the end and how this all kind of affects the teams that are left to make decisions. I also want to go through and just show you guys this because Clayster did tweet that one final shout out to Hastro for sending me where I requested to go. Appreciate everything you did for me. Thanks for the year. And Hastro says right back at you. Thanks for giving your all always. You will be missed here. So it's a good, I don't know. It's not the best ending, right? Because I'm sure Clayster would have liked to have stayed in Dallas where he did have that success towards the end of Modern Warfare, but at least he gets to go where he wanted to go. It's a good story in the end. He wanted to go to New York. Hastro did everything he could do to send him there. Now, one other thing that I want to show you is that, do you guys remember those tweets when Clayster was on a stream and there was like that hat in the bottom corner? Clayster did go on to tweet that, you're right, that was a New York Subliners hat. So they were trying to throw everybody off their game by saying that was like a scuff hat or it really wasn't a New York Subliners hat, but there it is. The proof is in the pudding. That absolutely was a Subliners hat. And this was just a few days ago before the actual announcements came out. So yeah, a little bit of detective job going on in the COD subreddit and based on what Clayster had behind him in his stream. Now, one other thing on this front for the New York Subliners is it does seem like the New York Subliners are interested in Jon and Hydra. Jon is a name that's coming up everywhere. He's come up in that fourth OGLA spot. He's come up potentially going to Seattle. Now he's on the Subliners radar. So he's coming up all over the place because people are realizing that there aren't a ton of true SMG slayers left. So Jon is a name that's coming up everywhere. Also Hydra, although it seems like he might end up going to Paris, we'll see what happens there, but those are two names to watch over the next week or so to see where they fall, where they end up going. Now, the big story for today and the reason for this video is that this has been deleted. I'll show you it in a second, but Prestini did come out and say that he's a free agent. It has since been deleted, like I just said, but here's the tweet. Again, it was deleted. I had to find it on the COD subreddit. It says, I'm done. It piles on. Free agent for next year. Someone let me know. So who knows? I mean, it seems like there's so much going on at that Seattle franchise. They have a team. They don't have a team. They have somebody. They end up going and sketching and going somewhere else. I mean, it's so hard to say exactly what's going on here in Seattle, but obviously, there were some reactions to this tweet. This is from a BZ that says, can't believe this is happening to you. This actually just blows my mind. You're one of the best entries in the game, but always getting overlooked. You're a beast, and you know I love you like a brother. Keep your head up. And there's tons and tons of other pros that went through and commented on this. So, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like we'll look at the roster overall in a second. But I totally agree with what Abizi's saying. He would know. I mean, he kind of plays that same role. But when Chicago Huntsman last year had success is when Prestini was at like a 1.05, 1.1 KD. And when he was being that entry man and getting those kills as he's heading towards a beat-on flag or as he's heading to, you know, on rotations and hardpoint or when he's getting first bloods in search and destroy. I mean, that's the type of play that Prestini brings to a franchise. And there are only so many people out there that can really do it. So I'm not sure if he put out that tweet and then he just felt bad about it, so he deleted it, or if he had ongoing discussions after that. But we'll see what happens. I hate to see that he's just struggling over and over and over again to find a squad. Hopefully the end is near for him and he can find somewhere. He can get a roster somewhere. but it doesn't look good. I will say that on that rumored squad, another person that was rumored to be on that Seattle squad was Loony. And Loony had this, so he said, pissed as an understatement. So when it comes to this, there's a couple ways that this could go. Is Loony angry because they decided not to go with Prestini, or is Loony angry because he also got dropped, right? There were two that were rumored to just be on that squad. Now, there's just so many different ways that this stuff is going. I'll explain that in just a second. I do just want to throw out this last from the head coach of the Seattle Surge, Joey Nubsy, said a roller coaster of a day, but things will always work out and get better. I hope everyone has a great night. So obviously there's some sort of fluctuation going on with that Seattle roster. But what I was referring to before with Loony is that if we're looking at this Seattle roster, so that's right here, this is really what we're talking about. If we look at this, obviously we know Octane's there, and that's the only piece that's there. So he's cemented in there, right? This was like 3 or 4 days ago, we saw the tweet come out from Octane that said, well, it happened again. And then Prestini put out that tweet that said, sigh, 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 and just said sigh 45 times. So what that made everybody think is that Gunless, who was essentially the fourth piece there, ended up going somewhere else, whether it be at this LA Optic roster or what's going on there. But it seems like that was the play at least a few days ago. Now, I don't know, because remember, these things can go so many different ways. But now it seems like there's a potential that Gunless is back on Seattle. And if that's the case, then it seems like Prestini and Loony would be out. And potentially there's another SMG duo that they could be bringing in that position. So if Gunless decided to come back, then that would leave Gunless and Octane together on the Seattle Surge again. And if you're the Seattle Surge, I'm not sure that you could necessarily fault them from a franchise standpoint either, right? Because I will say, I think Prestini I think he's a really solid player. He's not in a simp. He's not in a BZ. He is not an envoy. That's not the role that he plays. But he is a super solid player. In 4v4, you need to try to get as many elite players as possible, because a map can be decided by one person, right? In 5v5, there's so much going on that, I mean, sure, you can get by with a bunch of super solid players, but when it comes to 4v4, you have to have as concrete of a roster as possible. So if Gunless went back, if you're looking at the list of SMGs, so this first column and this second column here, which are mainly the SMGs that are going to be on both teams, Abizi and Simp, Huke and Shotzi, Envoy and Scum, Kleenex and Bands. Kleenex was unbelievable towards the end there. Zuma and Mac. You have Awakening here. I mean, Dylan and Alex, if that's the rumored London squad. I mean, these are some really good. Even Priesta and Attach at the Minnesota Rocker. These are some really good duos here of SMGs. And when you're looking at Prestini and Loony, I'm not sure that they pop off of this screen the same way that some of those other ones do. Not saying that they can't play, but if you have an Abizi and a Simp and you throw in a Prestini with them in 5v5, now you've got a pretty good squad, because Prestini can just be fitted into his role being that entry man, and he can really make that team better. But when you have to take Simp or Abizi and take one of them out and plug them in with Prestini, it's just not really going to work all that great, right? So that's kind of the latest news and rumors that's going on right now. I don't really know where Seattle goes from here, to be completely honest. I think that there's obviously a bunch of options with everybody that's been released, with all the rumors, all those extra pieces and parts from all the other rosters at the end of the first year of the CDL. I do think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jon. So if you're Seattle and you got Gunless back and you've got Octane and you can get Jon, that's 3 really good players. Of course, we don't quite know how Jon is going to be overall, since it's been a while since we've seen him, but that would be a pretty solid roster. And now you only have to find one piece to fill instead of, I mean, the 2 or 3 pieces when they first just announced, okay, we have Octane, let's move forward. So on this video, guys, let me know your comments down below. I love the interactions, love talking with you guys. So what do you think about this? What do you think about Clay finally being confirmed, going over to the New York Subliners. What do you think about all of this drama that's happening with the Seattle roster? Let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for checking out another episode. I super appreciate it. Leave a like. It helps out the video, helps out the channel. Thank you guys so much. We will see you in tomorrow's upload.